I
stuff on
can't
his
believe
own.
I lost money on Cum Rocket. I feel like I did my research. I invested in a sound asset, and I've lost it. The world is not fair.
Hi, I'm Tom. I have a problem.
And some people come up to us and go, no, I read on this article that 2 + 2 = 7. And we will listen to this for a little bit and go, right, go on, explain why you think that. And they'll try and explain it, and it won't make any sense. And we'll go, look, 2 + 2 = 4. This is why. These are the reasons. And they just go, 7. Like,
Hi, I'm Tom. I have a problem.
so shut up, stop being a victim and trying to find an excuse to not buy Bitcoin because Bitcoiners are toxic. Fuck off. Like, just stop being a pussy and do some reading. Find a good Bitcoiner, ask him some questions, and they will give you the answers.
Hi, I'm Tom. I have a problem.
So now, just in case, if you record it as well, because I think it's so easy to do.
Yeah, I'm recording.
There you go, you got it.
I'm recording this to make sure that you only put on stuff that's actually genuine.
Now, I still get the final cut. You don't have to edit it and put it online.
I didn't even know to host a meeting.
I spent more time than I spent editing trying to find that damn file. But it's so bad. Like once you quit out of this, it has to convert it. And if you just say stop, that's it. It's gone. And I was just in auto. I just went close, and then there's a pop up. I went close. I'm like,
no.
That's the conversion of the video. And I'm like, it must be. It's not just gonna. I pressed stop. Like not no. I stop. So I'm like, where's the start button? There is no start button. It's just gone straight away, instantly gone.
It's the same thing actually in nuclear medicine. When you finish a scan, it says, "Do you want to save?" It's just, why would you have that on there?
Why would you go through all that work?
Even if you don't want to save it because you say you stopped it early, just save it anyway. Let me go and delete it later. Honestly, it doesn't add up. And I've told Siemens many times, but they haven't listened yet.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to go into the Zoom support going, if I've pressed record, that
genuinely means
like just save it anyway. And then if I don't want to save it, I will delete it. Like, don't throw up a little warning message at the end of the recording that doesn't really explain itself that clearly. Obviously, it's quite clear what it does, but by clicking that button, undoes it. Whole meeting gone. I'm surprised I haven't done it before because I'm normally quite drunk on these things. So
yeah, on the other ones,
it's easy to misclick. I just when you switch your brain off, you're like, yep, done. Close the thing all down. I'll come back to this and edit it later. Shit.
Just imagine these one of your like 2.5 hour ones.
Oh no, I don't think I could. I think I just have to lie and say YouTube deleted it or something. I don't think I could.
Tell the truth.
It's embarrassing.
Did you watch the England game?
Nope.
Are you still holding on to it? No one would have ever heard your rant that you would have done, but you didn't delete it. So you still hate England?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah. The only thing I've done with the England game today, the only reason I even knew it was on is because they were all kneeling again and people were booing.
I know.
So I got involved in a Twitter spat with a load of Black Lives Matter people. I was supporting the booing, and we need to stop it. And they weren't happy. Obviously, you get the instant insults. I'm a racist. I'm a right-wing activist. I'm a moron. So that was a fun little hour.
I don't really get why you would boo it though. It's like one day it will stop, but it's still the same season as last. So they did it every game last season. Maybe at the beginning of a fresh season, you might stop. Just to stop now, it can potentially bring too much bad news to the England team. I get why they're doing it.
Yeah, they're doing it to virtue signal. And that's all
it is.
It's like you're not doing it to stop anything. You're doing it because you're pressured, and the media and the masses would call you out as racist if you don't do it now. And that's the problem. Like, the only reason it's happened for a year is because there's been no fans. And so they've got away with it. Once the fans have come back, they've gone, what are we doing? Like, it's just stop now. Can we just play football and not have to do this silly pretense?
It's the politics, isn't it? I get it. It was a good movement initially, but yeah, there's a time and place that's got to stop. It was like when we were clapping for Stilian Petrov at the 19th minute. He had to come out and say, okay, it's been 2 seasons, stop now.
All right.
Every 19th minute we'd all clap, and they said, right, stop from next season.
Yeah. The problem is that there's no one that can do that here in this.
No,
you're not doing it for one person, are you? So even people like Zaha have come out going, I'm not going to do it anymore. but he can do it because he's black. So you can't call him racist because he's black. So he doesn't kneel now. He stands up, and it's still the company line on it, or the official line is it's optional for the players. You don't have to do it. It's optional. But if you're black, you can obviously stand. But imagine a white player not kneeling in today's world. You just could not do it. You would get lambasted. You would lose every single bit of sponsorship. You'd probably get kicked out your own club.
Yes,
and,
they would. Yeah,
that's why people are booing it, though, because we are forcing people to bend to virtue signaling, which is supporting a political movement in Black Lives Matter, and people don't want to see that in our sport. It's just get rid of it. And so people are voicing their opinion, and that's fair enough. They're allowed to voice their opinion by kneeling. The fans are allowed to say we don't agree, and that's all they're doing. So I feel stirring up a bit of drama is always one of my hobbies. So
it is a good hobby. Yeah. You're pretty good at it as well. I always think. The other thing is the further away we can keep all these Liverpool players, the better. Bloody Henderson missed a penalty as well, didn't he? Don't know if you knew that.
Oh, did he? I didn't even know. I thought he was injured. Yeah,
here's one of my favourite lines. So Roy Keane said, "Why are they even talking about taking Jordan Henderson?" He goes, and then so I've heard it's because of he's good for morale and stuff. Because what's he bloody do? Card tricks. Pretty well, I can't remember what else he said, and put a quiz night on.
I did. I did see a little clip of that on Twitter, and I thought that was funny. But then he actually played. So then you go, well,
he played 45 minutes. He played, and he was good.
Yeah, exactly. So
he's back to his normal self. I'd say.
I'd agree. Like taking an injured player just for in the dressing room, it's like, well, just bring him along as a coach then.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like with Bex, yeah.
Don't pick him as an actual squad player if he's not fit, but he is fit. So
yeah.
Whilst Roy's comments are funny, it's like they're not really true because he's gone to be a squad player. He's fit. That's why he played the second half. So.
And he took the armband as well.
No, there you go then. So he's a freaking captain. So you take a slightly cropped captain, don't you? Because he's technically your best player if he's got the captain's armband. So Roy's he's salty because he's a freaking United.
He's Irish.
And he hates anything Liverpool.
And he's got to also commentate on a tournament with no Irish teams in whatsoever. So he's bitter as that. But yeah, right. Okay. So today's
talking about bitter people.
Oh, no coiners.
Salty no coiners.
Yeah, that's a good. It's why Max wears white.
Max wears white. What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, Max Kaiser.
Yeah. So you can watch all the salty tears of people that didn't buy in at $1.
Did you see that? Did you see at the conference the water bottles were labelled "salty no coiner tears"? Everyone was drinking them like, oh, they taste so good.
That's so good. It really is quite sort of topical then that we talk about no coiners, and instead of just bashing them, we're going to try and let them see the light for what's too late, and that's kind of one of the ways we're going to go with this pod, isn't it? So. It all stems from a couple of conversations we've had from family and that haven't been back in the purchases of Bitcoin and have a whole host of sort of issues and stuff like that to why it's not going to ever work. And the one that's actually, again, this one today or this weekend, it's sort of kind of a bit different. But the one I had the other day with the family member was saying, you can't use it to buy anything. So what's the point in it? And it's quite interesting, actually. It's now becoming the currency of choice, isn't it? In El Salvador, isn't it?
El Salvador, yeah.
El Salvador, so yeah.
Yeah, the president has put a bill in to accept Bitcoin as legal tender. So that will be basically it officially acknowledges it. At the moment, in every other country, you can still buy stuff with Bitcoin. It's not recognized as a government authorized currency. The only currency in every single country is the fiat currency. So for us, it's pounds, or it could be euros, could be dollars, could be whatever it is. But now officially, Bitcoin is seen as a currency as authorized by the government in El Salvador. And there's Bitcoiners out there right now. The only reason this has happened is because Bitcoiners have gone out there, and the president has actually even acknowledged that their fiat currency, it's hyperinflating by 20 or 30% a year. So people that are super poor their wages just keep getting inflated ahead of them. Any small amounts of money that they do manage to save just get inflated away. So Bitcoiners have gone out there and taught them how to use Bitcoin, given them Bitcoin wallets, given them hard wallets as well. And they've started storing Bitcoin on these things, and they're now started to trade using it. They've started to buy and sell, because these guys aren't doing it as a store of value. They're doing it purely as, we need a money that just doesn't inflate ahead of me. I just need to kind of stay stable. So this is the thing. When it becomes a currency, if you're in a third world country, you just need sound money. That's all you need. You don't care about being wealthy and buying mansions. In the West, we do care about those things, because our money, whilst it is inflating away, it's inflating away at 2% a year. So your savings and your wages are getting rotted, but it's taking a lot longer. So whilst if you had 10 grand in the bank in 20, 30 years time, that's going to be the spending power virtually nothing. But people don't really see that. It doesn't happen instantly. And we still largely have wages. So that's why Bitcoin in first world countries like America, Europe, and Britain, we use Bitcoin as a store of value. That's roughly where we are. We don't need to use it as money. We have access to the whole world. We can buy things with fiat, and you might as well buy it with fiat. So that's what you do. Even when things have buy with Bitcoin options on them, people sometimes choose to pay in fiat anyway, because there's no worry about just doing that. And you want to save your Bitcoin. You don't want to be the 10,000 pizza guy that ultimately spent something like 2 billion on a pizza 12 years ago. So yeah, it's a non-argument. Like, gold wasn't a currency when it first got discovered either. It goes through price discovery. So people hoard the new asset that comes out, which is going to be the global standard and global store of value. People hoard it in the first 10 to 50 years. They just hodl it and store as much as they can. And once it reaches the price that it can reach, the top price, essentially hyper Bitcoinization, which will probably be around $15 million a coin. Once it gets to there, then it will stabilize as a currency and just go up and down 2 to 5% a year. And that is when everything will be denominated in Bitcoin. And that is when the entire world will be transacting in Bitcoin. You won't sell anything unless it's Bitcoin. You won't accept anything else. Someone will come up to you for your goods or services, or pay you in your job and trying to pay you pounds or dollars. You will refuse. You will only accept Bitcoin. And we're just early. That's all it is. We're still early. We're 12 years in. And yeah, you can't buy everything with Bitcoin, but that doesn't matter right now. It's coming.
Interestingly, I saw something you tweeted, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, and you were saying about inflation and stuff not really affecting a lot of people, because people that have property and essentially savings to a degree, the fact they're sort of in the wealthier sort of thing, they have savings, they have extra property, they have other things like that. They're not reliant on their wages, and it's the people reliant on wages month to month are the ones that are getting proper affected by the inflation. And I think that's quite important to think about, because a lot of the no coiners that you'll know are people that don't generally have the money to invest. The investor guys will probably dabble in a bit, will watch it, but the no coiner will generally be the person that just lives for today, lives for the pub at the weekend stuff. They're the people that if they just started putting some in, it'll be good, and they can avoid that inflation that's going to hit them. And I thought what you said, something about the rich get richer and the people at the bottom are the ones that get really affected by this sort of stuff. And I think that's quite a sentiment and a quite hard hitting sort of truth.
Yeah, it's good the rich get it. So they know inflation's happening. They go on TV and tell everyone it's not, because they benefit from it, because they don't hold cash. They don't, and they barely get paid any wages. If you look at any big CEO of any big company and have a look at their salary, normally it's £1. That's their salary. What do they get paid in? They get paid in stock. Huge amounts of stock. They get millions and millions of pounds worth of stock, because their stock will go up with inflation, if not higher. So they make more money, or they buy property, and the property,
the same, doesn't it?
Property is going up 10, 15% a year. Completely insane. So the faster inflation goes up, if you're rich, your wealth just goes up with inflation, if not faster.
Yeah, because the point to remember there is they've got a second property, a third property, a fourth property. They when like for me with one house, if inflation goes up and my house has gone up like 20%, like it has, we discussed a few weeks, it doesn't matter, because if I want to get the 4-bedroom house, it's 20% more. It doesn't make the difference, does it?
With anything, it's still bad, because your house is going up by 10%, say. So let's just like use random numbers. Say your house is worth 200K, your house goes up by 10%. Great, that's gone up 20 grand. If you want to move up to the 400K house, that one went up by 40K.
Yeah, true.
So you're still 20K behind just on that 1 year. And every year you get further and further behind. The more expensive houses get further ahead of you, and you actually get stuck into the house you're in, even though it's going up in value. That's
insane,
again,
isn't it? It's high concept.
It's very hard to actually tell people that the fact your house is going up in value is bad, because it means you can't upgrade to the next one because it's getting further ahead. At least at 200K and 400K, there's a 200K gap there that you need to make up somehow. Once everything goes up to 20%, now you're 120K behind, or 220K behind.
Yeah.
It's what you're further behind. You need to make even more money now. Oh, and by the way, your wages are now worth less.
Good luck paying the mortgage. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. Sort of covered the thing. And there was one other thing I was going to sort of bring to the table on this. So I heard a few people, and I think this is sort of rubbish from what I've heard, but they're saying about capital gains tax in El Salvador because it's now a legal currency. I know that if you potentially switch a load of euro to dollars and there's a crazy drop or something, you would have to pay capital gains on it. But they're saying that they might not have to do capital gains. What's your thoughts on that?
That's true. Yeah, it's another massive thing. Once Bitcoin becomes a currency, now you can transact in it, and you're transacting as money, not changing an asset from one to another.
Of course. So you're not taking the quids out, therefore it doesn't matter. So if you pay with the Bitcoin over there, so you'd obviously have to keep all your stock there, wouldn't you? Technically, you'd have to buy, or could you, if you were there, buy a load of stocks and shares in Amazon with your Bitcoin in El Salvador?
Yeah, and then now you've converted into an asset. So any gains on your Amazon stock,
of course, you'd have to
pay. But the biggest thing is you can go and buy land, you can buy houses with Bitcoin, and it doesn't count as a taxable event anymore.
So you save the money on that asset before it goes to the asset. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you save 20%. So at the moment, say I want to buy a house in the UK with Bitcoin, I have to pay more. I have to, because 20% of what I'm going to want to buy in Bitcoin, because it's an asset, the government want 20% capital gains. And so now I only have 80% of my Bitcoin left to buy the house. So if the UK, for example, ever accepts Bitcoin as legal tender, I have 20% more Bitcoin in the UK.
Wow. Overnight. Yeah, that's pretty major then, actually, isn't it? So we all go into El Salvador.
Yep.
Because I was thinking, if you were going to buy a load of Amazon shares, not that you would probably convert your Bitcoin stock into that, but the point is, if you did it over there, you would skip that first taxable event, wouldn't you, into that asset? Same principle as buying a house. Yeah. Obviously, it's unlikely you're ever going to do that sort of transaction because, the nature of the beast. But it's an interesting thought. Yeah. Okay. The next thing is obviously the world, a bit like what you were talking about earlier about having to conform to different political movements and stuff like that. One of the other ones that we have been hit with last, I don't know, since I've been born pretty much, is global warming, and this, the fact of us using non-renewable sources and stuff like that. So another quick, easy, no coin of view point on Bitcoin is it obviously wasting a lot of electricity to mine this stuff. It's not green. You don't care about the world. And when they take that sort of viewpoint, it is pretty hard, and they're pretty much unconvincible that it's not bad. But I know we've discussed it in the past about changing the world for the better is generally worth putting energy in. But until they understand that you're changing it for the better and not just trying to make money, that's where the problem is. So how would you answer that one?
Yeah, well, exactly. I think that second point is super hard to get, because it's you need to really be quite far down the rabbit hole to believe that if you do fix money, you fix the world. There's so much government corruption, illegal wars that are funded by the money printer. If we take that away from them, then there's countless resources and actual real human lives that will be saved by switching to a Bitcoin standard. And if you see Jack Mallers' presentation around when he announces that El Salvador is taking Bitcoin as legal tender, he's crying on stage because he actually realizes how much it's going to help that nation. And the president has just realized that, we need to switch to a Bitcoin standard. And this is going to really stop the corruption in that country, because being attracted to the money printer just brings the worst and most evil people to be attracted to power purely because they want access to the money printer so they can print money and then skim as much off for themselves and for their mates. So undoubtedly, just switching to Bitcoin standard, it's undeniable how much better the world would be if we were on that standard as opposed to the fiat standard. But anyway, Bitcoin mining, 75% of the energy that's used for Bitcoin mining now is green energy anyway, right now. And why is that? Is it because Bitcoiners are just hippies and we love the world? It's like, well, actually, no. It's actually because there's loads of renewable energy that is not being used. It was only yesterday that someone said at the Bitcoin conference, actually, in America, there's a load of solar panels and a solar power energy in the US. I think he said it was 100 gigawatts. And that was just in one power plant. And it's not being used. It can't get access to the people. There's no line in. And also, there's no incentive for the power companies to put the line in because they want to keep using coal energy because that's who their supplier is. That's who their mates are. And they have been mates for 50, 100 years. So they're not incentivized to want to rip it out and help the solar panel guys. And the energy isn't anywhere particularly more cost effective. They can't really make much more money on it anyway. So they're just doing it for altruistic reasons. Like, would they do it? And they're not. So what's happening is Bitcoin miners, they don't need people and they don't need big cities to be in. So they're moving Bitcoin mining companies towards where the renewable energy is, and they're picking up the spare power that's just lying about. They're generating it and they're just having to waste it. So Bitcoiners are going, we will buy this energy from you, but cheap. We want it super cheap because no one else is using it. So that's where all this renewable energy is being used, because it's not as easy. You can't just switch the world to renewable energy. And if people care that much, it's like, right, okay, how do your lights work? When you go on holiday, how does that plane freaking take off? Like, how's your car work? Are we all driving electric cars? No, you're putting freaking oil into your engine every single day. It's so bizarre how you can virtue signal against Bitcoin using energy when everything else you do in your fucking life uses energy and you don't care. So
the best thing I think is like Elon Musk is pretty much hailed like an absolute hero, and everyone just supports his movement on a lot of things he's done. He's done a lot of groundbreaking stuff. But the SpaceX is always the thing I laugh about. Like, in reality, there is absolutely no benefit to this world to go up into Mars, and how much energy is wasted and put into that. However, it's trying to make the world a better place, isn't it, in the long term? Like, it's trying to investigate what else is out there. And again, it's the same principle, isn't it? But we don't think twice about that. And that's what I think is quite funny. There's something else that I was talking to someone actually from work early in the week, and I said to him about Bitcoin and stuff. I said about doing this pod, and he said, "Oh, Bitcoin." He goes, "Oh, so you'll be one of the guys rich in the future, blah blah." And I said, "Why have you not looked into it?" He's a clever guy. He goes, "I just don't get it. Where does Bitcoin come from?" I thought that's quite a good point. Like, where does it physically? Obviously not physically, but he mentioned a bit about the blockchain, but he didn't know. He goes, "I just don't get it. Like, where does the first Bitcoin come from?" I thought, is there an easy way of doing it in layman's terms to answer that question?
Not really. You do need a technical expertise because look, it's code. Bitcoin is code, and then it's a database of transactions, and the code just runs. It's like saying, where is your computer game? Where's this video right now? Where is it? It's just a series of noughts and ones, and it's on the internet. Now, what matters about Bitcoin is Bitcoin is no different. I mean, we've said this before. It's basically just a blockchain even is just an elaborate way of saying this is an Excel database of transactions in it. And we just write in it who owns which Bitcoin, which addresses, not people, but which addresses own the Bitcoin. What is the limit? The limit is 21 million. And then there's a series of mining rules in there as well to go every 10 minutes, a block's going to come out. We're going to process transactions, and a bit more Bitcoin's going to be mined, and it goes out into the world. And so anyone can create this now. The code is open source. People have copied it, and that's where all the shitcoins have appeared from. They've all copied the Bitcoin code and just fire up another version. So, but why is Bitcoin unique? And it's because it is decentralized. So tens of thousands of people around the world decided to run this Excel spreadsheet, otherwise known as the blockchain. and they secure it and make sure the transactions that are going in are legitimate and no one is changing previous transactions that have come before to give themselves more Bitcoin. So that's all it is. And it's very like, it's a little bit abstract, a little bit meta, it's a bit out there. And there's a certain amount of trust that you have to put in that this is how it works. And the only way of really going past trust and into verification, which is what everyone should do, is to read and read more detail. Like read the white paper. The white paper on Bitcoin, it's 9 pages long. Read that. Read the Bitcoin standard. Just Google what is Bitcoin. There's loads of great videos on YouTube, and they're quite short, 5-10 minutes, and just watch some of those, and it will just take a little bit of time to get it. Because if I try to tell you, like, how's your TV work?
No, I know. And this
I don't know. I don't know how my TV works. I think my TV is fucking magic. How I switch it on and this black screen turns into like people talking, and I can get any single video in the entire world within 60 seconds. I can have it playing on my screen and it just comes through this wire. I have no clue how that works. It's in my eyes, it's a magic box. And to a certain extent, even I, with some technical knowledge on Bitcoin, I see it as a bit of a magic box because technology is crazy. The internet is crazy. So you just have to take some leaps of faith in going, this is how it works, and just start using it. And over time, your trust will build. But it's right to be skeptical. If you're skeptical, then it's a good starting place because Bitcoiners are skeptical and then can question everything. So you just got to start answering the questions for yourself. And if you don't care, then you won't get the questions answered. You need to care. So that's one of the first steps people need to take.
No, I think that's a great way of putting it. And I was wondering if I was missing something simple, because I thought I got it. But then when he asked the question, I was like, that's a very good point. And it is just a series of code, but I thought it was a cop-out answer. But then that's as much as I knew about it.
It is. There's nearly to all these questions, there's no silver bullet. If there was, they wouldn't still be questions.
They'd be answering it.
All the easy ones don't come up as questions. It's just like, oh yeah, they're done.
I think the thing,
this FUD stuff is this. It's the same 8 questions that has come around time and time again every year for 12 years.
Yeah, I think the key thing to think about is with any Excel document. I know in the working world, you always make sure that, well, firstly, you never understand someone else's spreadsheet. It's very difficult to understand. The second thing is that's probably the most easiest place to make mistakes is in the spreadsheet, because you assume it's right. So a bit of your calculation of something's wrong, you won't notice it because it's so deep within all your different other formula, which is why it nicely moves on to the shitcoin. So the beauty with Bitcoin is, which you keep using the word decentralized, is it's got lots of people that have got access into it within their nodes, and there's no actual person sat behind it as the founder is there, as in Satoshi, we don't know who he is. With the shitcoins, it'd be a group of guys that have put this together, and they can physically just change it. And that is the point that needs to get rammed down to people. Don't worry about the price of Bitcoin. Don't worry that it's only 4p to get this shitcoin. It's irrelevant because of football it is. And actually the point is it will become 0 one day because they will just decide that, well, they get greedy. Dogecoin is a great one for inflation. They remake so many million coins a day or something daft, isn't it? And that's just physically code on an Excel spreadsheet again. So yeah, I think
shitcoins they're just another form of fiat. And as we've always said, why does every single government fiat money end up in hyperinflation? And the only reason for it is because human beings close to the monetary supply will always turn evil, go bad, and end up printing too much for themselves. So when you take and put your hard-earned money into shitcoins, then you are trusting that the founders of that project don't turn bad as well. And history has told us it has never happened where people stay good forever. So it's a matter of time until those founders screw you. They'll either dump all their coins, they'll print more for themselves. Something will start to happen. And in reality, if you're doing it for gains, then fine. Just invest in them and get in and get out. It's fine. It's just like investing in the stock market and going down to the penny stocks. And you can pump and dump them. You can get in big groups of people, 100, 200 people at a time. You pick a random company, you'll buy it once, the price goes up, and you'll dump it at once. And hopefully along the pump, what you hope to do as your 100 people, the rest of the world think, oh, this company's going up. They all plow in as well. And you scam in 10,000 noobs that go and put their money in, and the 100 people that are in the know dump it all back to zero again. That tends to be the cycle of a shitcoin. So look, if you can ride the pumps up a couple of times, then all good. Good luck to you. It's illegal in most countries to do that type of stuff, but good luck if you get away with it. But we're talking about sound money here, trying to separate money and state. No shitcoins are going to do that. So they're not interested.
That's the key.
They're not interesting to us. So, but good luck. If you want to do it, look, it's a free world. Bitcoiners believe in the free market and the free world. Invest in whatever you want. But we're here for sound money. If you're here just for gains and then converting it into your fiat money at the end, and you value pounds and dollars and all that stuff, then you're not ready for Bitcoin yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Another good area is the recent news for the recent dump of Bitcoin down 30-40%, is that China pulled out and they banned it again. I know they've banned it and they've let people back in and banned, probably on the 4th iteration of it. But it's interesting that a lot of the Chinese were miners were coming from China anyway, weren't they? So now it's banned. Obviously, we're going to have a massively reduced mining community, is what the theory would be. But I remember hearing you discuss hash power before, and I think that's worth people knowing, because whilst it is banned and there may be less miners, the hash power in Satoshi's code is phenomenal, really. I can't believe how well thought through it was with regard to how many miners it is, and how much power is coming in. It depends on how long the code is, because the code to sort of finish the final block is only so long that it should take about 10 minutes. So it moves with the time, and I think that's the incredible thing about the code as well.
Yeah, that's the difficulty adjustment you're talking about there.
Difficulty adjustment, yeah. That's it, yeah. And the difficulty adjustment, I like that, yeah. And that's what I thought was just insane when I was hearing you talk about that.
Yeah, there's so many little golden nuggets of genius. It's because Bitcoin isn't the first electronic money that they tried to create, the cypherpunks. This is like version 10. There was eCash, Hashcash, load of different versions, and they all failed for different reasons. And one of them, like one of the coins, failed because it didn't have a difficulty adjustment in it. So as the popularity of the coin went up, then the blocks just came out too fast. So Satoshi basically took from these 10 projects the best of all of them, and he made Bitcoin and launched it. And it's so far been a perfect iteration of digital money.
Out of interest, so every 10 minutes, a block sort of, what would you call it? It's locked off, and then the Bitcoin's mined. Where is the advantage to it taking 10 minutes a block opposed to not doing it in 5? Because at the moment, am I right in thinking Bitcoin all 21 mil will be out in 2108 or something like that, isn't it?
2140.
2140. So where's the benefit to us in this day and age? Because obviously that's going to be past us. We won't be here. It'll be to our grandkids, won't it? Where is the benefit to us for it all not to be mined? Because surely that is boomtang, isn't it?
Yeah, well, basically most of them have already been mined. So we're 18.5 million coins of the 21 million have already been mined. So essentially the last tiny fraction of a Bitcoin comes out in 2140. But by and large, I think it's the first 50 years where 99% of the coins are mined. So we'll be at like 20.8 million in our lifetimes. So it'll virtually already all be out in this time. But
the halving, I guess, doesn't it? Because it's going to go down exponentially, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it halves. So it started 50 Bitcoin were coming out every 10 minutes. But that's for the first 4 years. Then it went to 25, then 12. Now we're on
675. Yeah, 25. That's it. So yeah, it'd be 3. It's not going to be long until it'd be almost next to nothing coming out. Which then, to make people worthwhile mining it, it's going to have to be worth something considerably. Well, it's going to basically be worth the same as what it was in the first place. Obviously, when you're mining, I suppose the worst time to mine, weirdly, would have been, at that time, if you wanted to convert the money out of Bitcoin, would have been at the beginning, because you'd got 50. It was worth 50 quid.
It was worth 0.
Point, yeah?
When the early miners, like, it took about a year for Bitcoin to have a price.
Oh wow, yeah.
It didn't have a price, and then it obviously came out as a price, and it was worth like a penny, which is why someone bought a pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin. So the early miners were doing it purely to just help the project. They believed in it. It was not for profit. And it wasn't until years and years later that the price of Bitcoin was far surpassed what they paid to do it, and hence they're now very, very rich. But in the early days, yeah, it was worth hardly anything. And yeah, so as well as the block reward, they also get all the fees. So fees can go up. The more popular Bitcoin gets, the fees will go up, and it costs more to do a transaction. So the fees can get large inside blocks as well. So that also pays the miners for the energy that they're using.
So let's just scroll that back a bit. So the fees would be between me transferring it from my exchange to my wallet, or from my wallet to your wallet.
Yeah, when you send Bitcoin, you have to pay a network to process your transaction.
And it depends how quickly you want it to go across. Will depend on what you pay. So can you see the fees jumping particularly high?
Yeah. When we move to a Bitcoin standard and everyone is transacting with Bitcoin, the fees will go sky high. And obviously, once the fees are denominated in Bitcoin, so it doesn't care about the price. So if the price goes up to 15 million a coin, the fees are going to be astronomical. So that is when you will never, a normal person will never send a transaction on layer 1. They will do it in Lightning. Lightning is nearly free. So we will do millions of transactions on layer 2. And pay pennies per transaction to send value all around the world. Then all those pennies will be added together to pay probably hundreds of pounds per transaction. But we'll have 100,000 transactions lumped into one, and we'll process them once onto the blockchain, and that will move the value. That's where Lightning and layer 2 will come in once the fees get too large. Because we're still 12 years in, and by and large, if you don't mind waiting a couple of days to send your Bitcoin, and actually this weekend's been great for it. If you can get all the Bitcoiners in one place and get them all drunk at an event, then they don't send any Bitcoin. So the transaction fees on Bitcoin have been dirt cheap this weekend, but then they'll go up again once all the Bitcoiners come out of that event and go back online and start transacting in Bitcoin. So
yeah. That's interesting. I like the layer 2 thing, because I think there was something else that I think's worthwhile talking about. And about if I send a transaction for a car or something via Bitcoin, there's always that risk of a double spend, isn't there? And that is if it goes instantly. I heard you talk about it. Yeah, so if you do it instantly, that's why there's a little delay. But there's also a delay in banks, isn't there? So it's exactly the same.
Well, the delay in banks, if you send money internationally, it'll take days.
That's what I mean. And it's to stop the double spend. I can't remember what your context was. You were talking about that, but I think you were saying,
yeah.
Can you remember?
Yeah, it's just the fact that Lightning, you wouldn't buy a car or you wouldn't buy a house on Lightning. It tends to be for low value goods. But if you're going to buy a car or you're going to buy a house and you want to just transact with it legit, like straight away, you just want to make sure that transaction's 100% stamped on the blockchain yourself, and you want to minimize the risk. And so, yeah, you'll happily pay the fee. But if you're buying like 20, 30K worth of goods, or maybe even $500,000 if you're buying a house, then guess what? Like right now, you pay the $5 for the fees and just do the transaction yourself. If you do it in Lightning, then yeah, it's just because you're one layer away, there is a chance that either the transaction might fail, or the person on the other end could be doing some elaborate trick to try and double spend and take your Bitcoin and double spend it. You think you received it, you haven't. So you just want to be absolutely sure. So it's just like common sense, really. Like it's like normally you would send mail just with a stamp on, but then if you send something of value, you send it recorded. It's the same type of thing. Really. I would almost, that analogy, I would say, sending a letter, because it's like likely not going to get lost, is it? Like most letters get there, but occasionally you just might hit a problem. So, and especially at the moment, Lightning's relatively new. So don't be transacting 20, 30K worth of goods on there, but just do it on the main chain.
I think the key is as well, the fees, when we say they're expensive, in the scheme of things, they're not, are they? Let's be honest. Right now, they're not actually that expensive.
No, it's just
for security.
Yeah, people do it for FUD because it's at the moment it wouldn't make sense to buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, because the cup of coffee is going to cost you, I don't know, £1.50, £2, and then the fees might be about that. That doesn't make sense. You buy it with Lightning, so that's where Lightning comes in, because for very low value purchases, the fees are too high, and especially in third world countries where things are very, very cheap, and a cup of coffee might be 5 pence over there. So if you then have to pay £1 worth
Maybe
of
weeks.
fees, there's literally no point. It's an unusable currency there, which is why already they're using Lightning in El Salvador, because that is the only they have to use layer 2. They are only doing low value purchases, so they use Lightning.
What is their currency at the moment, pre-Bitcoin? And will it still be living in? But you don't know. I was wondering.
El Salvador dollar or something.
Is it? Are they going to run in parallel? Do you think for a bit?
Oh yeah,
Or
yeah,
how's
yeah.
it? So you're just going to say it's a transactional thing, but again, does it go back to the question of would you pay for it over there? You still wouldn't spend your Bitcoin over there, would you, unless it's major transactions? But similarly, if you want to start saying, I want to be paid, if I'm El Salvador, I want to pay for it, I want to get paid in Bitcoin, where are they getting their stash from? Has the president got a massive wad of it somewhere?
They just buy it on exchanges like everyone else.
Right. So that's what they're going to have to start doing. So their government are going to have to start doing that.
And this is what I mean as well about once it gets rolled out and once it gets legalized, you might not want to spend your Bitcoin, but everyone in El Salvador now only values all their goods in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
They don't want their local currency now. They're like, no. This cup of coffee doesn't. Don't accept the dollars now. I want.
It's going to be mental, though, isn't it?
I want 1,000 sats now. So you don't get the choice.
But it's also going to be crazy when you think you're going to go to the shop and then your shop, you talk about inflation. So what you bought today for this price in sats, in a year's time, you're going to be, Jesus, I spent a lot of money last year on shopping. Spent a few mil. And there's going to be, and how are you're going to have to move with the times, aren't they? Because they're going to still have to buy those goods in and they won't be able to use Bitcoin probably to buy them. So you think, so let's just go back to the shop. So they're going to have to buy their bread in or whatever. They're going to have to pay for it in their other currency because it's coming in overseas. Then they're going to have to put their Satoshi price on it. But they're going to have to change it every week. Probably. That's going to be crazy. I can't wait to see it on Revel. I know we're literally just in the teething stage of this. We've literally just touched the water saying, I'm going to accept it. So, and I'm going into quite deep.
No, it's an interesting thing to run through because accepting it as a legal tender of your currency whilst we're in price discovery is a challenge. But the thing is, it's mainly like it's for the people on the ground. Like even they will be using it as store value. But the thing is, it sounds difficult, but you have to reprice everything. They're repricing everything now anyway because their currency hyperinflates by 20 to 30%.
Yeah, true.
So
true.
bread that you walk in, say it was $1 today, you come back in 2 months, it'll be $1.10. You're like, what? It's like, oh, it's just price gone up. Because the thing is, especially if you're importing stuff. If you're trying to buy stuff as El Salvador and buy it from other countries, we barely value their currency. So we keep inflating like, oh yeah, how many pounds do you want for that bread? And we keep going, well, your currency just went down again. So we need £1.10 now for you to buy it from us. And then next month, now it's £1.20. So they're constantly relabeling everything anyway. So I think it's once you get in there and you realize that this isn't a normal society. Like this is a country in hyperinflation mode. It's fucked. It's completely fucked, and people are starving. They are lose everything. A lot of them are homeless. They can't afford electricity. They can't afford the basics. So it's going to be tough for them to get onto Bitcoin because they need phones. They need an internet signal. So that is stuff that infrastructure like that needs to be rolled out. I think only a third of El Salvador's have a mobile phone. So straight away, that's 2/3 need to catch up. But the president is acknowledging these things and going, we need to fix it. So it's just an encouraging.
I have interest then. So if it's their own currency and it's hyperinflating, it's quite a bold move because generally hyperinflation is due to the excess printing, having more money than there is value of anything else, like what we're talking about. There's obviously somebody in charge of making that decision, but then they've also gone and made this other decision to try and combat hyperinflation. It's sort of like contradictory behavior, is it not?
Yeah, well, this is a new president. He's quite young. He's 39, and he's only been in power for 2 years. So he's inherited a lot of this. He's inherited a corrupt government. He's put a load of previous politicians in prison for their corruption. And he's got a 90% approval rate in the country. He's one of the most loved leaders in the world. And yeah, he's trying to change stuff. So he's just making the first steps. And I think, who knows, this could be another Elon moment. He could be accepting this just as Elon did, and then he could turn. He could undo it. next
Yeah,
month.
you can
But the
say
thing
it
is,
doesn't work, and then that's a right kick, isn't it?
yeah,
I've
it could have some consequences that reduces the amount of power he has, and he may decide to undo the decision. We don't know yet. But the fact is, this is the first president of a country that has talked about Bitcoin positively and has actually rolled it out and accepted Bitcoin.
He's actioned it, isn't it? He's actually put his money where his mouth is. A lot of people say it's the real thing, but they can't really make that decision. Like even yourself, you believe in it, but then if you had to make that decision as a government leader, that takes the balls then. I know you would. But that, yeah, we can never put yourself in that position because you're not in that position. But he's actually in that position and he's done it. It's heroic, really, isn't it? So yeah, the other one that I do get, and I think this is a big concern, and it's really difficult to get the people believing in Bitcoin, is like they always have somebody they trust and somebody they know that's bought Bitcoin, or they've classified Bitcoin as crypto. They've bought into this Bitcoin crypto stuff, and they're massively down. And I carried it straight away, and I said, well, they can't be down unless they bought in post March. And if they bought in post March and they're wealthy and they're intelligent guys, they're probably not. And the level we're talking is sort of director CEO level. So they're obviously not short of a bob or two. So they're not the remortgaging people, FOMOing in. So they're probably not going to have sold. So the only thing is, oh, I don't know what they bought, is normally the answer. It's probably because they bought shitcoin, which is pumped. They jumped on it and it has dumped. So they're down because Bitcoin's only come down. Well, we're at the same price as we were in early March, aren't we? Basically. And that is until we get that clarification and that designation in the line where, you know, Bitcoin's that, and it's not. I feel like it keeps getting caught in with the crypto market, and the crypto market involves Dogecoin, it involves Ethereum, BAT, all them types, and that's come rocket, yeah. Well, Elon do pump. See, he should be done for illegal trading, shouldn't he?
I can't believe I lost money on Come Rocket. I feel like I did my research. I invested in a sound asset, and I've lost it. What is the world is not fair. The world is not fair.
It's not fair, and basically people believe that their mates are correct and the people they respect at work, and they're saying, "Oh, it's a load of rubbish. It's a scam." You're up against it, and I know you have to. I think you've alluded to it before. The first step in Bitcoin is it's like going to Alcoholics Anonymous, isn't it? You have to stand up and say, "Hi, I'm Tom. I have a problem." Until you can say, "Hi, I am blah blah blah. I want to know about this," you ain't ever going to know about it. So as much as we can give them the answers to all these questions, there's always something else. And I think that is the take-home message for this. You have to want it. You have to stand up and say, "Hi, I want to know about Bitcoin," and I'm going to trust it. I'm going to not just discard it before even hearing anything more.
The general consensus is, if everybody agrees with your investment decision, then you're buying the top. Like you're last in. Whereas if the majority think you're stupid as you're going in, but there's a small group of very high conviction individuals that believe in something, and you click into them and go, "Why do you believe in this?" And they tell you, and it sounds like it's legit, and it's not just Dogecoin goes to the moon, Elon said. If that doesn't sound like a very good investment theory, if you dig into Bitcoin, you start hearing about sound money and El Salvador rolling it out, and it's had 12 years of history. It's look at the price chart; it's gone like this. I don't know how you've managed to lose money. You must have basically just bought the top and sold the bottom. There's been loads of places where you can do that, and I think lots of people get into Bitcoin and get shaken out because they've got weak hands, and then it takes them a while to overcome the fact that they've lost money. Like people don't like losing money, and if something does cost them money, then they resent that thing. You know, I've seen people hate certain football players, and you go, "Why do you hate that player?" It's like, "Oh, I bet on him 50 quid to score a goal and he missed a penalty." It's like, "Oh, right. Yeah. So you lost money on him. He had nothing to do with this." Really. And it's the same with Bitcoin. People like really get very emotional about their money, and if they lose money, they get very emotional about that. It's all natural. But yeah, you just if everybody was agreeing to it, and if anything, there's a signal that we are at top is when your taxi driver is telling you to buy Bitcoin. That is what happened in 2017. It got too big. Everyone was having fun, and everyone you spoke to in your office or whatever would be saying, "Yeah, buy Bitcoin," because every single person was up. and then we had a 3.5-year bear market, and now we're only just at the start of this bull market, and still the majority of people got stung in 2017, so they're still salty. And if anything, now the price is probably above where they sold before, like well above it. Well, actually, it has to be, because if they bought in 2017, it has to. It's like double or triple. So now they're even saltier, because now not only did they lose money, Bitcoin taught them a harsh lesson that if they just held, they would now not only be up on their investment, they would be 3 or 4 times up. So now you just resent something because now you don't want to get back in and admit you were wrong. So yeah, the wisdom of the crowds and like talking to people at work, this is like saying, I know that some, just because people in business and some people are high up, I know it's like trusting your person at work, asking them to take a look at a lump on your leg and go, what do you think this is? And then ignoring your doctor's advice. Like, the doctor knows what he's talking about. He's the guy that has got decades of experience in this thing. I would listen to him over your boss that drives a Ferrari. Like, you don't know how your boss got to get that Ferrari. Yeah, he looks flash and he's probably good at what he does, but he's probably just a sales guy that is got a very niche set of skills in a very niche kind of business aspect, and he's good at it. That doesn't mean he understands Bitcoin. Like,
no, you're absolutely right.
Ask a Bitcoiner. Go and search, find a Bitcoiner, and ask them some questions. Google it, read a book. That's where you'll get the knowledge from, not your mate down the pub who you don't know what his knowledge is.
Yeah, but it's funny because, like, I think Bitcoiners as well do rub people the wrong way with some of the stuff, isn't it? And I think it can be sort of like quite a, I don't know, it's quite a, I've said it to you before, it's quite toxic with some of the stuff, isn't it?
Fucking love it.
I know you do. I think that obviously, if you're not sure on something, I think that attitude doesn't help. But
no, this is like, we're toxic, right? But we'll spend so much time answering decent questions. So like, you've asked loads of questions. Some of my mates have asked questions. I will listen and answer every single question. If you just didn't listen to the answer and just went, no, I still think China banning it is a thing. Like, or no, I still don't think inflation's a thing. Like, then I would just tell you to go fuck yourself. Like, go away. And then you can go, oh, Gaz, you're so toxic. It's like, no, like, I listened, I answered. You didn't want to listen. You basically had an agenda that was anti-Bitcoin. You didn't want, we weren't really asking a good faith question. It was bad faith. So when bad faith people come into this space and start trolling, they get trolled back and get told to have fun staying poor, fuck off. And Bitcoiners are the immune system, and we tell people to fuck off. And anyone that is a bit of a freaking fairy and they're floating about Bitcoin going, oh, Bitcoiners are nasty. It's like, show me one instance where you have been treated badly by asking an honest question. There won't be one. So shut up, stop being a victim and trying to find an excuse to not buy Bitcoin because Bitcoiners are toxic. Fuck off. Like, just stop being a pussy and do some reading. Find a good Bitcoiner, ask him some questions, and they will give you the answers.
Absolutely.
If you've already made up your mind and you hate Bitcoin, fine. Like, we'll leave you behind. Like, it's absolutely fine. But don't be surprised when Bitcoiners are toxic, when you are asking bad faith questions and have no intention of buying Bitcoin. You've already made up your mind that it's a scam. So your questions are bad faith, and you will be treated with the contempt you deserve.
To be honest, I think it's a good point because a lot of people do it to sort of ridicule. So they don't believe in it. But I don't think the people that don't believe in it don't appreciate the people that are Bitcoiners and where they come from and what they have achieved probably already. There's obviously a few of the youngsters that are out there that haven't actually really done a great deal with their life up to now because they got in, because they had that bit of that spark or they had that influence. So they've sold in the first wave, didn't they? And they're on the beach, or they've got in and got lucky on some shit coins. But the people that are, your genuine people that are trying to actually make this a thing, they always have time. You're absolutely right. But if people just come up and can't be asked listening, it is infuriating. And the conversations I've had are infuriating because I give answers and it's just countered with, well, it's not even a real thing. And you think it's there's a lot of analogies of it, isn't it? You can argue about who's the best footballer, Man United or Man City, and some other people just never give on what they want to say, and you just want to smack them, don't you?
Well,
But because it's all done on Twitter,
you can't have a debate with stupidity.
Yeah.
So because if the other person is acting stupid or is genuinely stupid, it doesn't matter. This is I was thinking about this the other day, and it's either like debating a religious person, and you trying to say that God isn't real, and they say God is, right? There's just a misalignment of beliefs here. This debate is not going to go well for either side, and it's gonna result in insults being thrown by one side or both, because there's a fundamental disagreement and you're just misaligned. But I just feel like it's almost like we're the Bitcoiners, and we're basically just saying that 2 and 2 equals 4, and some people come up to us and go, no, I read on this article that 2 and 2 equals 7, and we will listen to this for a little bit and go, right, go on, explain why you think that, and they'll try and explain it, and it won't make any sense, and we'll go, look, 2 and 2 equals 4, this is why, these are the reasons, and they just go 7. Like, so at that point, you're like, look, you're wrong. Like 2 add 2 is 4. And they go, no, 7. And you just go, you know what? Fuck off, mate. And that's where we are. And that's where the toxic comes from. We've had 12 years of this shit. And I tweeted it the other day saying that someone said actually at the conference, Bitcoiners need to do better at educating, and we need to be nicer. We need to talk about and explain the FUD more, explain energy more, explain scalability, the technical elements. He listed all these things and go, as a community, we need to do better because people don't get it yet. And in reality, it's like, no, have a look. If you have been here for more than 5 minutes, every single one of these things has been debunked 1,000,000 times. There is so much content out there that debunks every single thing. The only thing that is different for you is you've been here for 5 minutes and you don't know the answers yet because you haven't done the work. Bitcoiners have been doing the work for 12 years. And so sometimes we will be patient and we will point you to resources that allow you to educate yourself. If you don't and come back months later and spout absolute bullshit, just like Elon did, then you will get destroyed. And we'll treat you with contempt and go, all right, you're a bad actor now. You're not asking good faith questions. You're just trolling, or you're trying to bring Bitcoin down for whatever reason, probably because you're incentivized for it not to work. So yeah, that's the thing. And all new people coming in going, oh, this isn't explained properly. It's like, if you even Googled it once, like once,
exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Or if you just read it once and gone, oh yeah, this whole energy thing, Bitcoiners really need to explain this better. Like, have you done any work? Any? No. Then what are you talking about?
Well, that is the genuine no coiner, though. They need, and I guess what we're trying to achieve here is to give people the lift up onto that wall. But at the end of the day, I think it has to go back to, you have to want to buy into it. You have, not even with your money, but just buy into the concept and actually want to learn it. I think you are right. Just put one Google in, what is Bitcoin? Are you going to get enough information out there? Just follow a few people on Twitter, because it's basically my whole Twitter feed is just Bitcoin now. It used to be full of football, now it's just pure Bitcoin. I haven't deleted any of the football. It's just because the updates from Bitcoin are incredibly more frequent, aren't they?
Yeah, I do want to share some words from Satoshi, because even Satoshi, he was the nicest guy on the fucking planet. He spent his entire life explaining Bitcoin, and until he disappeared about a year and a half into the project. But he had someone asking the same question over and over on a forum, and he just replied with a single sentence, and it was this: if you don't believe it or don't want to get it, I don't have the time to try to convince you. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good way to, I think, to be honest, I think that's an excellent way to sign off this pod. If you ain't got the time to read it yourself, we're not going to be willing to open up to it. I ain't got the time to talk to you.
Yeah, it's like, we're not here to convince you. It's fine.
No, we'll take you on a journey. Yeah, we'll bring you with us. I've actually got, I don't know if you have, I'm sure you have. I've got a few people that will just say to me, can you talk me through a bit? And I'll do a bit. And then they just every now and then text me saying, when's it going to pump next and stuff like that. And I say, have you done any research or anything like that? And they go, no, I just listened to you and I just know hodl and it's going to go up. And I said, that's all you need to know then. If you're not interested anymore, buy and hodl. And you can do it as simply as that.
It's fine to start there. It's fine to start there. But
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
if you've got your life savings in it, then you probably should start doing a little bit more work.
Well, yeah,
You
they haven't, I guess.
once your DCA buying starts to get to a certain amount, then maybe you should start to do a little bit of reading. But it's great to start there. Just put
Yeah.
small amounts of money in, and without you even realizing it, once you start investing in something, you will naturally start to read about that topic
And
every
go,
time
why?
it
Yeah.
comes across your path, and you will start to. It's a very weird thing. It's like when you buy like a yellow car and you think it's unique, and then you go driving and you see yellow cars everywhere. Like they were there before, you just didn't notice them. So when you buy Bitcoin, you will suddenly start seeing Bitcoin stuff everywhere, and you'll start clicking on it, and you'll start to educate yourself, and it's all part of the journey. But if you stay a no coiner forever, every time you see Bitcoin news, you hate click it, like you almost purposely scroll past it, going, "Oh, it's a scam." Next. So
Yeah, you're right, and it's a good point. I think as well, it moves away from being research to genuine interest, and I think that's a big thing. I genuinely enjoy. Admittedly, I let a lot of the Bitcoiners do the reading for me, and I take on from them, and I generally get the feel for how it goes. And I have in-depth conversations with you. You're my sounding board for a lot, so I'm lucky. But I know a lot of people aren't lucky like that, and haven't got someone that has taken the time to speak to them. But yeah, everyone has to start somewhere, don't they?
there's a million podcasts, ones like this.
There is, absolutely. You're right. There's
Listen to
millions
them.
when you just, yeah.
This is
And
the
that,
cheat code, right? This is every time I kind of answer one of these questions. This is sometimes like decades worth of my knowledge being distilled down into 30-second, 60-second time bits. And it
yeah,
might be bollocks, like it might be wrong, but like it's my knowledge. So
yeah,
take a bit of this, take a bit of someone else, take a bit of someone else, read a book, and come up with your own version to these answers.
hmm
That's how you learn. That's how I got a lot of this, like cheat codes. If figuring this stuff out just by researching hard yourself would genuinely, like, if not, there's not enough time in your life to figure these answers out, but other people have spent their lives writing books and distilling their knowledge, and they've given me golden nuggets. So and then suddenly you can put all these golden nuggets together and you can form your own opinions.
yeah. And you
And
distill it down.
so it's the internet's here now. Like there's no excuse to be stupid anymore. But go back 30 years, plenty of excuse to be stupid. Now there's not. Every
Yeah.
bit of knowledge that's ever happened in human history is at your fingertips. It's all down to you what you Google.
And I always like the way we've discussed it many a time before. You have no kids, you've got no time. You have kids, now you have no time. But then you think, what did I used to have? Then you have a job which you get like quite high up, and you work longer than 37.5 hours. And you think, geez, I literally have no time. But you still manage to get a bit of gym time. And then you have, I don't know, you start a uni course, and then you go, wow, I do struggle now with time. But you still get that time in the evenings. You still get that downtime. So there's never, ever, ever, ever an excuse to not educate yourself on it. If you haven't, then it is an excuse. And I think it's fitting to say, have fun staying poor.
Have fun staying poor.
Cheers, guys.